Digital news is killing off the news biz? Nope. They're doing a pretty darn good job all by themselves of shooting off their own appendages. This is the Monday Line, and I'm Denis Campbell. Time Inc. founder Henry Luce must be spinning in his grave. Time's magazine division, struggling to make money in a growing digital media world, last week was spun off by its corporate masters at Time Warner. Flagship publications Time, People, Sports Illustrated, and Money were cut adrift in a clear white flag of surrender. The parent company could not figure out how to make money publishing magazines. The division was creating a drag on corporate earnings. It was an astounding admission, and the cries were heard throughout an industry struggling for relevance, yet not willing to make any real changes since Gutenberg created hot lead type nearly 400 years ago. Publishing and editorial were separate, sacred entities, and never the twain met. Well, in a digital age of partnership and broadcasting from everywhere, as my southern U.S. friends regularly say, that dog don't hunt. The digital news business is about mutually beneficial partnerships that advance and grow the business of news. Speak to an editor, though, and they'll say growing the business is not their job. And therein lies a fundamental problem. The creators of news moan, piss, and cry across panels and forums about the death of the news business, yet no one seems to get off of their backsides and do anything about it. Rather, they worry if they'll have enough budget and writers to do the job without ever making a connection between the revenues that are needed and their job, because that compromises their intellectual integrity. And the business side of these publications has been the scene of monumental cock-ups. They only gave away the digital store for a decade and then wondered why consumers go elsewhere when they install a paywall without offering any other real benefit to lure a customer or a reader back in. They lack the one attribute digital media consumers demand above everything else: engagement. Interaction with the reader from their perspective is a one-way street. They push out the news whether the reader wants it or not, and they never indulge in a dialogue with that reader. It's like the politicians who only care about voters during an election, only they never have to run for re-election in the news biz for their jobs. The news business thought all they had to do was replicate the paper vision online, and people would flock to it. And they did have great success bringing eyeballs to their websites. Problem was they behaved like a pair of country boys who bought a truck of melons for 50 cents apiece, had a great day selling them out at 2 for $1, and decided what they needed was a bigger truck. Lacking in anything resembling common sense, these geniuses competed against their own operation. They replicated everything online for free and wondered why paper versions in the newsagents or the local store went begging. You wanted to be a fly on the wall when the realization hit them, and their advertisers, that the customer realized they could get the paper for free online, so why bother paying for it? No one in the operation could see there was little incentive for the customer to go out in the rain and the wind and pay 50 cents for a paper when the reader could sit at their computer and read it all for free. Now the media geniuses have decided the way to reverse these declines is to have their writers become pundits for cable news. Well, all that does is stroke their massive egos without solving the economic model issues. So in the digital world, we see Bob Woodward. This is the man who broke the Watergate story, selling a poor me the White House threatened me meme. And New York's Cardinal Dolan is a rock star celebrity in Rome pre the Papal Enclave, because every news organization in the USA is hanging on his every word. And the so-called real rock star celebrities like Justin Bieber take heat from UK MPs because he was 2 hours late for his show, breaking the hearts of young teens out late on a school night while he played video games. And then we had the dozens of stories about Michelle Obama's hairstyle and bangs versus an economic meltdown in a dysfunctional Washington, D.C. That's what passed as news? Well, welcome to the digital world. Time magazine, indeed every major news outlet, wants to jump on the digital bandwagon, and most lose their shirts for two reasons. Their balance sheet debt load is too big to sustain any sort of digital effort, and they're unable to adapt and change their operations. Last Friday evening, I jumped onto a newspaper forum on LinkedIn. There, a bunch of traditional paper news purists smirked that The Guardian was trying to reach a U.S. audience via cartoons and infographics. Some snootily looked down their nose, thinking they'd got it all wrong over at The Guardian. They assumed American audiences were not smart enough to understand real news analysis. Well, no. That would be convenient, and it would fit their poor us meme, but The Guardian is one of the savviest multi-channel digital news organizations out there. They understand they do not compete with 5 to 6 other London city newspapers. They know that theirs is a global market, and so they structured themselves to serve a global digital news market. And it's the bunker-like mentality of that forum that is destroying venerable institutions more than anything digital. Refusal to change is worn to the grave as a badge of honor, and these companies are already dead. The brain just has not received a final shutdown signal. And those complainers, they're the dinosaurs. And the tar is already up to their necks, and they don't feel it. Ultimate digital success will come to the smartest and leanest organizations on the block. Those who understand that the name of the game in media has to become revenue from many sources versus who has the most Pulitzers. How many professional sports teams with an MVP player lose their way and never become champions? It's an apt metaphor because without revenue, there are no staff that can win these Pulitzers. And since only a dozen or so are awarded each year, why would you not want to make sure you cover the news people want to read? Listening to and engaging with the reader would solve a world of problems. But the tar continues to rise, and there are no signs of common sense or innovation in sight. So let's just keep blaming the digital focus. How's that working for you?